Okay, who's on the screen? You look like you sleepy.
Yeah, I just woke up. Sorry, y'all.
I don't know how to get to the. I don't know. Just did something real weird. It took away. Oh, maybe it didn't. There it is. I thought I had taken away our chat thing for a minute, but it had not. All right, did you share it? Oh, I just saw something too. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna share it with you after we get done with this. I thought it was interesting. Not a bad interesting or anything, just interesting.
Alrighty. Please forgive us, beautiful folks, peoples. We be having a lot of stuff going on. So we're back once again.
Yeah, but last week, I think didn't we tell them last week we were gonna be?
Yeah, but then we said we were gonna do it Wednesday, and then we just got it.
Yeah. Jermaine got attitude.
I don't get attitude. I don't get attitudes.
Whatever. Okay.
I am too happy to have attitudes.
Okay. Did you see my text?
What text?
When you sent me all the ideas.
Yeah, I seen them right before I came upstairs.
Okay. So we're gonna focus on that one today. You sent a lot of stuff.
Well, you asked me if I have any ideas.
No, I think they were good. So I chose one, and I figured that's what we can focus on.
Already, when we focused.
All right. So top of the hour. Let me see. My top of the hour is this.
Next week is going to be. Let me say this first. Next week, no, we're not leaving on Wednesday. Never mind.
Mm-mm. Yeah, we do the show, then we leave.
Yeah, because I was going to say we would do it in the car. Then we could have the kids involved. We should do that on the road trip.
Oh, we can do on the road.
Yeah, so we should do it Wednesday, like when we leave, and then have all the kids and get their opinions. So we have to come up with a family one.
That'd be cool. Have Micah come up with something. He always come up with good.
Yeah, because we always our family is weird. Not weird like strange weird, but we have like the craziest conversations and. From sports to relationships to we just had one about passing. If we could pass it, we just have the craziest, coolest conversations. So, and our kids are very involved in intellectuals, so they have their opinions are vastly it's highly intelligent ones. I'll say it like this. They make you think. But anyway,
they do. Okay. So anyway.
I need a haircut.
Anyway, top of the hour. Let's see. What's the top of the hour? I'm trying to think what we did, what has happened since the last one. We went and saw Sinners.
Let's not get into that.
We did see Sinners. We saw Sinners.
Listen, to me it was a good movie, but it was weird. And I'm talking about strange weird. It's one of the movies for me. It's good to me because I'm not the type of person that watch movies and think and need something to challenge me and make me think deeply or even, I don't know, I just watch it to watch it. But then, having a wife like this, once she started breaking down everything and make you start thinking and it becomes like, yeah, you know what, that is kind of weird. Like, why did they do that? But I don't think it's what everybody says.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do any spoilers. I don't either. I don't think that it was the hype. I think sometimes as a community and a people, we will jump on a bandwagon unnecessarily so. And so I think it clouds our judgment when we watch certain things and we just automatically want to say it's good or it's like to this superior level, even when it's not, just because
right.
everyone else has said it was.
And if you don't say it, I'm going to say it. And if you don't say it because we're black, then we're hating or whatever.
Well, I wasn't even going to go there. I was going to say, I think that we sometimes we have a group mentality.
And if you don't agree with the group.
Well, no, not even that. It's just I think we just have a group mentality.
If you don't agree with the group.
I know that, but I'm saying just even when we don't even have that fear of not agreeing, I think sometimes we just agree because it's just like this one-dimensional mentality.
To your point, the Shador Stevenson thing, because I fell into
Shador Stevenson.
I mean Sanders. I just woke up. I'm sorry. I was going on to the group. I started getting into the group mentality on that until you and I started talking, and then we started looking up statistics, right?
Yeah.
And I had to start thinking and swaying my opinion a little bit. But
yeah, so I think we heavily engage in groupthink. I will say that I don't have anything against Ryan. I think he does great work, great movies, everything you want to call it. I just think that sometimes we deserve a movie that is not saturated in symbolism, that is not I think sometimes we all think that we were all raised the same. Like, yeah, we have all encountered the same challenges as far as racism and different things, but like I wasn't raised in the South, so some of that stuff just like wasn't even super relatable like to other people, which there's nothing wrong with it, but I think there's always this assumption that all Black people have had the same Black experiences, and we have not. Jermaine will tell you, like, there's some things he experienced. I have no clue as to what he's talking about because that was not my life as a Black child being raised in Iowa. I also
and that sounds funny saying that in Iowa, because when people think of Iowa, they don't think of African American people,
right? But it's and the only other thing I'll say about it is that I think that there was too much attention. I don't want to say too much attention. I think that there was a lot of effort put into character development, but I don't think he was very successful in that character development. So it seemed like it was a bunch of time wasted on character development, even though we still didn't have a really in grasp of the characters. So it felt like he spent all this time trying to develop the characters, but they still were not. Yeah, it didn't land like it should have, and so then it took away some of the time that could have been spent on developing more of the plot as far as the vampires and the
I personally
that thing. It felt that part of it felt very rushed and kind of like, let me just throw this part in here because I said it was going to be a movie about vampires. So I need to throw this in here. Kind of like you write a paper and you're supposed to be using 10 sources and you only have 9, and so the 10 source you just write whatever is in the 10 source because you need the 10 source. That type of thing.
Yeah, I just thought at first I thought it was interesting seeing the previews, right? But then, after watching it, it's like you really could have had like 2 movies. You should and/or movie, if not 2 movies. You should have made a movie about vampires, or you should have made a movie about bootleggers robbing people and coming back trying to start a juke joint. The way that was integrated just wasn't it wasn't appeasing to me. Let me say that.
And to be honest, sometimes I just want a good movie by Ryan or someone else, not Tyler. I just want a good movie where I don't have to think about the symbolism that you're trying to portray in the movie or anything else. Like, let's just have a
movie
good,
that makes sense to her.
No, I'm just saying, let's just have a good Black movie that doesn't have it, just good Black movie. That ain't got nothing to do with none of the other stuff. Like, just really good. Like, we could have really good Black vampire movie that didn't have to have anything to do with all that other stuff. Like, that'd have been dope, in my opinion. Like, like what was that one where they was for nights, 30 days of dark, 30 nights or whatever, where the vampires were. I mean, come on, we just something. Like, we don't always want to have to be thinking. Life is, we already thinking all the time, right? We just want a movie we can enjoy without all the extra. Anyway, so that was that on that. The Shador Sanders thing he already talked about, but yeah, that's another thing I think we all group think on. However we want to feel about it, when you look at the facts, and this is just factual stuff, and you compare you know, some of the players and the statistics and the stats and the records and everything. It's just like, okay.
Well, I'm not going to necessarily say records, but I'm going to say as far as, you're talking about, I thought let's clear up records. We're not talking about team records.
No. Just general records. Yeah.
So all of the quarterbacks that was taken before Shador, from Cam Ward, which was the number 1 pick in the whole draft, all of their numbers are dang near identical. Yeah, some may have 3 or 4 or 5 more touchdowns and, you know, a couple more sacks or a couple less sacks, but they're all in the same realm. So Shador is not statistic-wise, head and feet above everybody else. And what started killing me, we made that a race issue, right? And half the draft is African-American people. The number 1 pick was an African-American person. So when you start trying to say, oh, it's racism and this, that, and the third, but your half the draft is African-American. So how is it that much racism? And then this other thing that I see, and I'll be done with it. This other thing that I'll see is irking my nerve. They're talking about, oh, we're just going to buy Shador Sanders merch and this, that, and the third. We're going to show the NFL. And I am trying to understand.
The NFL,
that's one. I am trying to understand this, right? Shador is already rich, even if he didn't get drafted. So even if you support his own merchandise, you're just making him richer, which is fine, right? But it's not like they were taking this man's livelihood away where he wasn't going to be able to work and couldn't do nothing else to support his family. That's one. 2, it's irking me that you're talking about, okay, buy all his merchandise. You're going to show them what? Because they're still going to be billionaires, right? Like if you want to hurt them, then don't watch the NFL. So some of the stuff that we're doing doesn't make sense. I'm just going to support him by buying his stuff. Oh, but I'm going to turn the game on and get you TV deals worth hundreds and millions and billions of dollars. Make that, you're really hurting them. Oh, wow. That's just, I don't know, but I'm done with that.
Yeah. So anyway, those are our top of the hours. I don't think there was anything else that was interesting. Let's see, that came.
The Diddy trial coming up on that.
You know, yeah, him and the Diddy trial.
No, but you said you was going to comment on it. But anyway,
I don't know. I did say that. I put it on the thing, so I will maybe actually do that, but I don't know. We're going to see. Anyway, so today, expectations. We're trying to come up with topics for discussion today. And Jermaine gave me some really good ones, actually. And he was talking about how whether or not being raised with different experiences can impact a person's expectations in a relationship, which is interesting because when you think about being raised in different experiences, like when he was saying that, being raised differently, I was thinking like, okay, well, like one of those experiences that I know that they talk about somewhat, and I think there needs to be more study on that, is like this whole concept of being raised in love and being raised in survival. So I did find a little video I was going to show about survival, and then we're going to talk about that, how love, because I couldn't find anything on the love one, I mean, as far as videos, but I did find some good information on how even being raised in love can cause issues. So I'm going to share the video first, if I remember how to do it. Share video. Nope, that ain't what I want to do. Sorry. I gotta share my screen. Oh man. All right, here we go. I think it's this one. We're gonna see. Share. It wasn't even supposed to show my whole thing like that. I hate that it's showing on my tab. That's crazy.
Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're diving into a topic that many of you might find eye-opening. We often go through life just thinking that's just how I am. But what if some of those things are actually deep-rooted responses to our environment growing up? Let's talk about the signs you grew up in survival mode, not love. Understanding ourselves better? understanding why we react the way we do, why love, real love, can feel so damn scary sometimes. So if you're ready for a bit of introspection, grab a cuppa and let's get into it. Right, first up, let's talk about anxiety. And I'm not talking about the occasional pre-presentation jitters. I mean that ever-present hum of worry, that feeling of always being on edge, like the world's about to throw another curveball your way. If you grew up in survival mode, your nervous system was probably on high alert from a young age. You learned to anticipate threats, to read between the lines, to brace yourself for whatever was coming next. And the thing is, even when you're in a safe and loving environment now, that anxiety can linger. It's like a muscle memory, a default setting that's hard to switch off. You might find yourself overthinking situations, worrying about things that haven't even happened, or constantly feeling like you need to be in control. It's exhausting, right? Trying to outrun a past that's always nipping at your heels. But recognizing that this anxiety might stem from your upbringing, that's a huge step. Once you start to understand that wiring, you can start to rewire. Okay, so you're probably picking up on the theme here. Growing up in survival mode can leave you with some, shall we say, interesting defense mechanisms. And one of the biggest ones is difficulty trusting others. If your childhood was unpredictable, if love felt conditional or even absent, why would you trust easily? Who could you really rely on? This lack of trust can manifest in so many ways. Maybe you find it hard to let people in, to be vulnerable, to believe that anyone could truly love you for you. Or maybe you go the other way and you become a bit of a chameleon, constantly adapting to please others, to avoid conflict, to feel safe. It all comes back to that same root: a lack of trust in the world, a lack of trust in other people, and ultimately, a lack of trust in yourself. Let's be real, being independent is usually seen as a positive thing, right? Strong, capable, self-sufficient. But like most things in life, there's a spectrum. And sometimes that fierce independence can actually be a sign of, you guessed it, growing up in survival mode. When you've had to rely on yourself from a young age, when you've learned that asking for help makes you vulnerable, it's almost instinctive to build those walls up, to become fiercely independent. You might find it hard to ask for help even when you desperately need it. Delegating tasks? Forget about it. And vulnerability? That's a whole other language you're still trying to learn. It's like you've got this internal monologue going. I can do it myself. I don't need anyone. I'm better off alone. Sound familiar? Yeah, I've been there. True strength isn't about doing everything on your own. It's about recognizing that we're all human. We all need help sometimes, and allowing ourselves to receive that help without guilt or shame. Chapter 4, Fear of Failure. Perfectionism's evil twin. Right, who here relates to the crippling fear of failure? Yeah, I thought so. It's a bitch, isn't it? That voice in your head telling you you're not good enough, that you'll mess it up, that you're just one wrong move away from disaster. Now, some people are just naturally more cautious, more detail-oriented. But for those who grew up in survival mode, the fear of failure can run much deeper. If your childhood was chaotic, if love felt conditional, then making mistakes might have had serious consequences. Maybe it meant facing criticism, punishment, or even rejection. So you learn to play it safe, to strive for perfection, to avoid anything that might lead to those painful experiences again. And that's how the fear of failure takes root. It's not just about wanting to do well, it's about wanting to be safe, to be loved, to be accepted. But here's the kicker: perfectionism is a myth. It's an impossible standard that keeps us stuck, afraid to take risks, to embrace our true selves. Chapter 5, People-Pleasing, the Art of Becoming Invisible. People-pleasing, the ultimate chameleon act, constantly morphing into who you think others want you to be, sacrificing your own needs and desires to keep the peace, to avoid conflict, to feel accepted. Sound familiar? Yeah, it's a common one, especially for those who grew up in environments where love felt conditional. When you learn from a young age that your worthiness is tied to how well you please others, it becomes second nature to put their needs before your own. You become a master at reading subtle cues, at anticipating what others want, at becoming the good one, the easy one, the one who never rocks the boat.
How do you stop singing? I can't remember. All right, so anyway.
That was I'll take the forefront on that. And it's funny that you even found that video. And that wasn't all the video. It was a little, quite lengthy video, so I want to watch the rest. But when I sent you that topic, I was like, because we always talk about me and my survival mode, right? So watching that, I'll say that's 90 of Jermaine's percentage, 98, 99% of the stuff I agree with in that. Again, I have to rewatch it to go back over it and grasp or look at the other ones, but yeah, definitely looking at that, and then and me personally, and some of the things that I've done and how I've reacted and to certain situations. Because I was going to tell you that too. I started thinking about it. I don't even understand what growing up in survival mode is, right? But that video actually helped me understand a little bit more. But all of the things that was said is definitely true, because I react in certain ways. The pain and of failing. Actually, you and I have discussed this. It kept me from doing a lot of things that I potentially could have, or accomplishing a lot of things that I potentially could accomplish. Kept me from doing things or attempting things that I wanted to do. So that video was spot on. The love aspect of it, survival versus love.
But wait. I think I want to show you one more thing, because I think this is what Jermaine says to me all the time. I found this. I did find this. So there was this one is it's just a little snippet. Let me just show you a little snippet of it, because this one I think kind of hits on what you say all the time. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean I agree with it, but it does hit on it. So, if I can get it started.
Different for people who was raised on survival. What you think about that?
I actually have a really strong opinion about this, and my opinion is that people raised on love will never truly understand a person raised on survival. They can love a person raised on survival, they can support a person raised on survival, but they will never understand them. And I use an analogy with glasses. So people raised on love get this luxury of seeing the world through clear, maybe a little rose-tinted, but clear glasses. They get to make decisions based off of a true, clear perception of reality. Someone raised on survival doesn't get that. What we get are cloudy, broken, shattered glasses. And when you look through shattered lenses long enough, your vision adjusts and you begin to see the world through a shattered lens. And you have to make decisions based off of the reality, the warped reality that you see through the shattered lens. So how can a person who has seen through clear glasses their entire life ever understand the reality of a person who is seen through a broken lens their whole life?
People who were raised on love see shit different for people who was raised on survival. What you think about that?
I actually have a really strong opinion about this. And
so, what do you think about that one?
Honestly, that's what like you said, that's what I always say. I agree to an extent. I don't agree as much as I used to agree. If I have to give the Jermaine percentage again, I'll agree with that about 85-90%. And because again, you can't speak from a perspective. You can't, in my opinion, you can understand and you can sympathize with somebody because of their situation, but until you had to walk in their shoes and experience the things that they experienced, and you didn't have to experience those things, then I don't think that somebody can fully understand, and it becomes hard to explain and frustrating to try to get people to understand what you're saying. It's just like if I smoked crack my whole life and all you did was drink a beer or drink liquor and you got drunk high that way, and I got high off of crack. And I'm telling you, man, this crack high is like this, and this crack is so hard to kick, and this, that, and the third, or whatever it is. And you be like, oh yeah, I understand, because I used to drink beer all the time. It's like, no, yeah, okay, but that's not the same thing. Like, yes, you had a problem, right? Of drinking beer, and that's a bad problem. But you ain't have to go out here and sell your car or I don't know if this is what crackheads do. I mean, they say crackheads, do crazy things and rob people to get their high. You just had to go get a beer,
Yeah, but do
Like-
people that have to go get beer do that sometimes? I don't know. I've never heard
I
of
mean,
it.
I'm just
I don't
using
know.
that as an
I know,
analogy.
I get
I'm just saying being addicted to beer doesn't give the same overall presence. And I'm not saying that everybody's situation is like
Right.
that, but for the most part, you know, it's not the same type of drug.
Right.
Everybody has their experiences. This is why I was saying when we was talking to ISIS, like you can sit there and learn all these things from a book, and 99% of it, or 95 or 9, whatever you want to give, can be spot on, but it's not going to be 100%, because if that book only, when these people do these research, this is how I think, and I know you're higher up as far as when it comes to these type of research and stuff. When these people do these researches, they may poll 30,000 people, but you got 80 other thousand people that then experienced it totally different or handle it different. So when you're doing those, to me, when you're doing those experiences, I mean, doing that, you're telling them people on those different experiences.
But that's not quite accurate, though. Like, that's the whole point of research and doing it. It depends on who. That's why you have to have peer-reviewed research and different things like that, because there are specific techniques
And I
that
believe
have
in
been
science
scientifically proven to be representative of a particular population. And that's why they have strict guidelines on how you're supposed to conduct these different type of research. Now, whether or not people follow them is one thing, but that's what I'm saying. That's why you have to make sure you're looking at reliable sources, because
No, yeah, I get that.
there's a statistic analysis, like probabilities and everything else. There's if you roll the die this many times, there's a probability that you're going to get blah blah blah. So that's how statistics kind of work with those things. So I think, depending on what you're looking at, sometimes it can have a very good representative number to kind of get a basis off of what's going on. But I found this thing that talks about raised in love and raised on survival, right? And it says generally, raised in love refers to a nurturing, supportive, and emotional fulfilling upbringing. Children raised in such an environment typically receive consistent love, guidance, and support from their caregivers. They are often better equipped to form healthy relationships, have higher self-esteem, and demonstrate empathy and cooperation. They tend to have secure attachment style that can lead to more fulfilling relationships in their adult life. Raised on survival, this typically refers to a childhood characterized by adversity such as poverty, neglect, or abuse. These children often have to learn to fend for themselves from an early age and prioritize basic survival needs over emotional needs. This can impact their ability to form secure attachments, potentially leading to some difficulties in relationships and a higher likelihood of mental health issues in the future. These experiences can also engender resilience and resourcefulness, as survival often requires adapting to changing circumstances and overcoming obstacles. And it goes further to talk about how some of the things that maybe can looked at as weaknesses for those in survival mode are actually strengths. And the only reason why they become weaknesses is because of an over-reliance on them. Right? So and I thought that was really interesting when talk. And I can give you some examples. It said being raised on survival may give you so many advantages in life, such as empathy. Experiencing hardship can make you more understanding and compassionate toward others who faces challenges. Realism, you might have a more practical and realistic view of life, which can help in setting achievable goals. Independence, well, this is why they say independence. You might learn early how to rely on yourself and make your own decision. Strong work ethic. You're likely to understand the importance of hard work and responsibility from an early age. Resilience, you may develop a strong ability to bounce back from setbacks and overcome adversity. Adaptability, you might become adept at adjusting to new situations and changing circumstances quickly. Resourcefulness, you're likely to develop a knack for making the most of what you have at your disposal. Strength under pressure, you might be more equipped to stay strong and think clearly under high pressure situations. You might have, it talks about endurance, advocacy skills, tenacity. And then it says those strengths can be actually a good thing, but where they become an issue is when, while empathy can create strong connection with others, too much empathy can result in emotional exhaustion or neglect of your own emotional needs for those who have that. Realism, while realism can provide a practical perspective on life, it might turn into pessimism if not balanced with positivity and optimism. Too much independence might lead to isolation, as you may hesitate to seek help or build connections with others. It talks about resilience. While resilience is generally a positive trait, being overly resilient might lead you to persist in harmful situations or relationships because you've grown accustomed to adversity. And so it talks about how all these things that you can use as your advantage, people who are raised in survival can use that as their advantage, actually turns into weaknesses because of their overuse of them, or they go too far with using them.
So I'll say this, and this is actually, I don't even care if nobody actually look at this, because I'm learning something and I'm going to add to this. This is basically maybe for you and I. Hopefully I can get you to understand more. I'll add something else to that, right? Mm-hmm. When you, first of all, because of you, I'm understanding that all of these traumas and everything else that I've been through, that's a lot of what I do, mm-hmm. right? But what happens and what is happening as present, as I'm speaking now, over this last course of 5 years, 4 years, whatever it is we've been together, my emotions have become, my guard is down now. So I become more emotional, and my emotions and feelings get kicked in. That's why I tell you it's a lot easier for me to deal with. I forgot what it said. Disagree with something in there. The empathy, because I had no empathy.
No, but actually,
hold on. I had no empathy. I could sympathize with somebody, and that's what I was going to say about one of the other things. I could sympathize with somebody, like we said, somebody that grew up in love, make it sympathize, I think, with me or my situation. But with me, in that I could sympathize with people, but it was a lot hard. I didn't even understand what empathy was until later on in life.
Well,
right?
Let me ask you a question though, because you said you've always wanted to do type of things like helping homeless people and stuff out, right?
Yeah.
For how long?
Well, I think that comes from my father always telling me, like, boy, if you don't do good in school, or if you don't do this, you're going to be living under the bridge. I can remember back to being 5 when he first said it to me in New York, and me seeing these people, and he used to always say it to me seeing these people under the bridge. Mm-hmm. And I remember I always said, if I ever get in a position, I'm going to help people. Right. So from that standpoint, I get where you're going with that. Right. But as far as, if you look at everything else that I've told you I've done, as far as relationships, as far as me acting out against people and all that, I had no empathy for them because I didn't feel sorry for them. But I didn't really care. I didn't have no emotions or feelings towards your situation.
No, I get that. And I think what you're looking at it is like this full spectrum of empathy, right? But you were not totally devoid of empathy, because there were times you even told me some circumstances where you did things and it was like, well, I just did it this way because I blah, 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 or I did this because blah, blah. That's a sign of empathy, right? And I think one of the things that maybe you even struggle with is with the empathy aspect of it. And actually, if you listen to the rest of that video, she talks about how, or one of the videos talk about how people who are raised in survival mode have a tendency, they don't want to feel, because
it's a lot easier
it's not a lot easier to not feel things because of the pain of feeling and all that stuff. And I think that's sometimes
what I said.
I'm sorry. I don't want to say contradict, but clash with your empathy.
Yeah, because like I told you, you and Isis in our counseling session, like I said early onset of when I first started, like why do somebody want to deal with something that's going to make them hurt, that's going to make them feel pain, that's going to mentally bother them? Why do you want to deal with that? Right. So it's like, I don't want to. It's like if me running into a brick wall and I know the wall and I keep running into it. Why am I going to do that?
Right.
So you grow in that survival mode. With me anyway, I grew to, and I think it really started kicking in when I started losing all my family, because, of course, and whoever don't know, I lost all my family basically by the time I was 25, like from my mother, my uncles, and whatever, and I lost my father when I was 31. So I had that's why I literally just said this the other day. I've become accustomed to pain. Right. And the survivalness in me, because of that, I push it away. I didn't like, and I told you this, and I'm telling y'all this too. My father died in 2012, 8. I don't know, somewhere around there. 2012. And this sounds crazy when I say it now. I didn't start dealing with that until I met you. And I really didn't even have the idea in my head that my father was dead, because I pushed it so far back that because he was a truck driver and we didn't talk every day, I pick up the phone and be like, hey, Dad, whatever. And it'd be a month and a half later. I made myself okay with that. So it didn't cause me to think about it. Now I'm not saying that I think he's on the road driving. It's just I made it relatable so I won't have to deal with the pain. And then, after meeting you and starting to talk about it, and it was like, damn, my pops, like, my father's really dead. Like, it's like I had to start breathing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like you grow, and I'm getting teary-eyed. I'm sorry, y'all. You grow to make your life okay. It's to the point of, even when I tell you about the school thing and doing all of this, and like I said yesterday, the day before, whenever I got more years in front of me than I do behind me, whatever I said, more years behind me than I do in front of me. It's like my thought even now is like, why do I want to deal with certain things when I could just go live the rest of my life? And okay, I know that, at least with me, it's like, okay, I know why all of this is happening, or I did the decisions and made the decisions, whatever. Now I know better, but why deal with it? You know what I mean? Right. But then I get your point of like it, and I get, because Isa said this, it shows up in different ways. So I understand that. But I will say this: if I wasn't married and knew this prior, I probably wouldn't try to deal with it, because, and I know it'll manifest itself in other ways, but it would be to people that I probably wouldn't care about anyway. But it wasn't been to the extreme of how it was. Only reason I'm trying to address these things now is to make sure our marriage stay on point. Right. Because I don't like certain things that I do in the way it make me feel. So it's like,
and it's funny though, because even in looking at some of this stuff, it helped me too, because one of the videos talk about like this over dependence, right? So people who, and it's funny because it can come from either someone who was raised in love, they can be overly dependent, or someone who was raised on survival, they can be overly dependent. And it was talking about the reason why they're overly dependent. You have this whole thing of the fear of failure, right? Or the fear of inability to do things. And for some people raised in survivor, it's safer for them to just be overly dependent. Like, it's safer to be like, let them do it, because if they do it, I won't make a mistake. Or if they do it, I won't blah, blah, blah. And you have done that sometimes. Like, you'll say, like, I was waiting on you to come help me because I ain't want to mess it up. And like, it's this constant playing, like, in your mind, like, this is what's going on. And to me, I'm thinking like, no, I know damn well he could have just did that. But then I understand it now. Like, okay, so it's almost to me like it's.
But it's a little bit worse.
Like a subconscious, but I'm saying it's almost like a sometimes conscious, but a lot of times subconscious thing. Like, I don't know if all the time you're thinking about it on that level.
No,
when you do it. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I can tell you I do. Like, my biggest fear is not is doing, and that's what makes it so.
No, I mean, like, if you think on a level like, oh, this is coming from my survival.
Oh, that's
so
No. I mean, I think about that now. I mean, not a lot, but like I say, I sit there when I do things, and if I don't feel that is right, or you and I have a debate about it or whatever, I'll think like, why am I doing this and why am I doing that? Just like the little spat that we had the other day, and how you said that, sometimes you do things out of emotions or whatever the case is. At that point, was I thinking about that? No, but I had to go back and, replay everything in my head. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. Right. So no, sometimes I do it. I don't think about it like, I don't want to put this over there because I may break that over there. Oh no, that's about I may do that and then
realize
at that point. Until I start sitting there and thinking about it, like, why is this and why is that or whatever it is. But it's crazy, man. I didn't, and so my daughter told me this. Asia told me this way before you and I talked. Before you and I started dating, she told me a lot of the things that I was doing with women. And I mean, you said it too, but this was prior to you, that it probably came from a lack of whatever from my mother, or a lack of whatever, And for the longest, I still wrestle with that today, because in my mind it's like, no, because I grew up around these guys and they were doing this and doing that, and I couldn't do it, and it made them look like this, that, and the third. And then I told Asia that, and then she came back and said the same thing that you said, like, yeah, it's probably deeper than that, right? So I think about that at times. It maybe because my mother and I had a crazy relationship, right? And the way you made me understand this, the way she loved me the best that she could, with everything she had going on in her life. And when you think about it, you explain this to me. When you think about it, like I just told you the other day, how my grandfather and my grandmother, her mother and her father interacted with each other. That's a lot of trauma. Yep. Even I know I make the jokes about my dad and what he said to my mom when she tried to kill. Like, I understand that now. So, and I don't know what my grandmother and my grandfather did, their parents did, but my whole family was trauma filled. And when it's sort of like when Quentin and I was talking, he was like, yo, we didn't know the Bronx was we stayed in the worst project. Well, I stayed in the worst projects in the Bronx. We didn't know the Bronx was the poorest borough, because we were kids. We were growing up.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like and that's when I tell you sometimes I think you don't understand, because you didn't have to grow up like that. And that's I don't know, but I it's crazy, man. I mean, and the thing about it is, I do understand the first step is understanding why, and even to get to that point. And I know I think I'm worse than other people on this, but you have to be willing. You have to learn and begin to have a open mind and willing to like want to, if not fix the problem, try to understand. Because at first I was like, when you started telling me these things, man, you crazy, man, you doing too much. That's just life. That's how I was. But then you start listening, and I know I'm on social media a lot, whatever. But then you look up one thing, and it may make a little bit of sense to you, and then you tell me something else. Yeah, you crazy. But then I go back and look up something. Okay, and then you start wanting to know more. Then now you're open to learning, but it comes from actually wanting to know. And I think I'll say this part, this is a sidebar. I think that what goes on to, like when we're talking about the top of the hour and the group thinking and things like that, we as Black people, some of us, the ones that do, I'll say that way, grow up in trauma-filled situations and in the ghettos or the poverty. We get stuck in one mindset, and a lot of us never can get out of it. And then when we don't start thinking, because if I would have never met you and I would have just seen you saying these things online, I would have been probably like everybody, oh, you a coon, or oh, you crazy, or oh, you sadiddy, or you just think you better than everybody else, because whatever, right? So again, you just have to be open, and that's why I gotta scratch my wife back right here. That's why I say the things that you've done for me, you can never put out. I could never put a dollar sign on. I could never show you my appreciation enough for that. You could buy me 1 million cars, houses, whatever else in the world, and it still won't top that. And that's what I mean by that. Now, the only thing that can top that, if you really, really, really can start understanding what I'm saying.
That was what I was gonna say. Where I feel like where I disagree slightly, and not all the way, because I do get what the lady was saying about the. I do think that it's really, really difficult to understand it, and I don't know. Maybe it means that you're not understanding. So I can understand some of the things the challenges, right, that you say that you have. Where I fall short at is understanding the inability, to push through them. And that's where I
have to cut you in, and that's where we get stuck at, communicating for that from that, right? For instance, when I told you, like, if I would have had, and you may even made me understand that, if I would have had a mom, or if I would have had Aunt Lois that was always in my, but like, no, you ain't gonna be out this late. If I would have had other positive influences, I would have went down a different path, right? So you look at, like you said, you look at two people come from the same situation, and one may go right, one may go left. You never know what it took for that one person or who it took for that one person. It may only took one person. It may only took his homeboy, cousin's uncle, brother, aunt, third nephew, cousin down the line to have something nice, and you're like, I want that, so I'm gonna go that way. Where
sometimes it's genetics too, because sometimes.
But I'm saying we're just talking about this. People
no, I just know, but I'm saying sometimes even when people, what I'm beginning to realize, we're looking at how the brain wires itself and everything else. That I think that it's very possible for two people to be in the same situation and their brain not wire it the same. And some of that may be genetic.
Well, I'm talking about coming from the same family.
No, that's what I'm saying. Even
if you got the same mother, the same father, then
you got the same. You're still pulling off different things from each person. So like you don't get the exact same thing that your sibling gets. Otherwise, y'all all be around looking like and everything else. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering if some of that has to do with it. And it'd be very interesting to see, like, in future studies, if that's one of the things they're saying is the difference between two people that are raised in the same environment going totally different. Or it may just be like, with the one intervention, that person was able to rewire their mental landscape, but the other one couldn't with the one intervention, maybe needing like 10 of them.
And that's my point. So thank you. That's exactly what I was trying to say. Like when we had those discussions, I have those discussions, and you was like, and you'd be like, yeah, but two people come and you, because what did you say? Well, you had Aunt Lois. You had blah blah blah.
Though I said no,
I don't remember you.
I finally agreed.
You never agree with me. Don't do that. Don't lie. Don't lie.
No, what I'm saying is
you'll never agree with me.
I don't. But what I'm saying, we finally got to the point where I was saying no. I meant that if at a younger age that happened, that intervention had happened.
I apologize. No, you did.
We did.
But that's what ended up happening. And man, and that's why I said the other day though. I know, it was an emotional type of situation, but that's why I said the other day, I don't think I'm going to keep striving to become better, but I don't know how much better I can become, because the more I become better, the more it seems like painful it becomes, if that makes any sense.
Right.
So then I got to learn how to work through all. Okay, I didn't get through
all
this.
Things through Christ, though.
Yes.
So you rely on.
See, she always throw that in there, and it ends my argument.
You rely on God to get you to where you need to be and where He needs you to be. That's the ultimate goal.
That's also part of my prayer. When I do my prayers, that is part of my prayers. Like, help me get to where I need to be, or where I want to be, and where you want me to be.
Right.
Right. Which I would hope, and I think that it is closer to Him. So because at that point, I would think that if I'm as close as I can be and should be to Him, all that other stuff is really not going to matter.
It's not, because that's why we ask for Him to decrease us and increase Him. Because then what we going through us no longer matter, just all Him.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's and let me tell y'all this, for the people that may not even understand what they're going through. My prayers are for y'all, because it's a hard battle, man. And what's even crazier? All the crazy things that I've been through. All of them. Two things. Like Tori said in church. If not for God, he said he's been in places where he should have been in jail, and time I should have been in places where I was dead and in jail. But I thank God for that, as well as the ability to understand now, even though I'm almost 938 years old, what happened and what's going on. And even on top of that, right? Just knowing that somebody out there was worse than me. And that's crazy, because if y'all knew everything if y'all knew a third of what I told her, y'all be like, yeah, she didn't believe half the stuff. I was telling her stuff, and then I never really, again, going back to the survival thing and how I grew up, stuff I'm telling you, I'm saying like, yeah, man, that's an everyday thing. Like I'm saying it like everybody does it, right? And you're looking at me like,
he definitely was saying it like everybody doing.
I don't know what that is, or I don't know what you doing, this, that, and the third. But for me to tell people stuff like that, it's like, yeah, I actually look like, yeah, that don't sound like that's believable. Like that's believable. Like I say, I brag on this. And when I say I brag on it, I brag because, you know, I realized this was before you, but I'm the only person that I know that's been in handcuffs in a jail, not prison, but in a jail 17 times in my life. From armed robbery to marijuana to fights, most of them was fights, stolen cars and everything else. And I got one charge. And it was a assault and battery from a fight that wasn't my fault. Right? So who was that? Right. Protecting me and I ain't even know. Yep. It's like I'm going down the wrong way and he said go the other way. I mean, hey, I'm listening to you. And it's like, okay. So, and then it all of that brings back to, you know, prior marriage and all through my life, especially in my prior marriage. I think God was really trying to talk to me then as well, and I wasn't listening. I've always had people come up to me and say, God's not finished with you yet. God said he's got you. I'm looking at them like, man, what the, you know, whatever. It happened with Belinda when we was in church. Was it Christmas when we went to church? Yeah. And something that I wrestled with the school thing, of course. And, you know, and she started praying for me, and they called me up there unexpected, started praying for me, and everything I was wrestling with, like, she was praying about. And I'm looking at Zorana, you said something else. She's like, no. And I'm like, okay, all right. So, hey, I'm 988 years old now. I'm not going to not listen now. Right. So
that's true. And the thing is, it talks about some of the other, you know, research I did talk about like the challenges, the relationship challenges with people who are raised in different environments, or people who are raised on survival versus people who are raised in love. And it talks about the challenges can be due to differing expectations, the difference in communication styles, and the relationship dynamics. So it talks about how there's a struggle to understand each other, how expectation, and I think with the expectations, the different in expectations is that sometimes exactly it's the set of the expectations without, well, I think it's two things. Like, if part of being raised in survivor is trying to do what you can to please people, or try to kind of like this adapting type thing, that you also do that. You do that because you've told counsel, like, yeah, I'll just sway her way because blah, blah, blah. So that type of thing leads to being in agreement, I think, sometimes with
stuff you don't agree with.
What stuff you don't agree with, or with expectations, or saying, or being like, not being up forth with like, hey, you have this expectation, this is where I'm at with this. And I think on the opposite end, with the people who are raised in love, like, we suddenly just set expectations, and we don't look at the fact that, okay, how might this person's upbringing impact the expectation that you have for them? Well, you get what I'm saying? So like,
I'll use us. I do understand what you're saying. What did we just talk about? My expectations. Right. Like from you. What did I say? I clearly said what? I don't expect you to do. My expectations to you, for me now, you know, even thinking about this, is like, to me, it's like low. Mm-hmm. Like it's low. All I want you to do is love me and stay faithful. Mm-hmm. That's it. Like, I don't, you know, that's basically it. Like, I don't, like I said, you know, through everything else we talk, I don't expect you to do nothing necessarily for my kids that you don't want to, nothing for like me if you don't want to. All I want you to do is stay faithful to me, love me. That's like, I mean, that's a bare minimum expectation in any marriage relationship anyway. That should be an expectation, right? So to what you're saying is, you have a certain expectation or thing that you may be used to or whatever, that, so like for me sometimes it'd be like, okay, I can try, but I don't, you know, whatever. So that's the being raised in love versus that. I would think, you know, me being raised how I was and going through what I went through, that's why my expectations are so low. Like maybe not from you, but in general.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Maybe I should have more expectations in life.
Yeah.
I've always, and you said this, you called this out in the beginning. You told me that to the point of the video, I always try to anticipate what's going to happen. The conversation that we just had the other day. What did I say? No. What we just was talking about.
Yeah.
Why wait? Why wait until 6 months later if
right?
It ain't gonna get better. We already know that this is gonna happen. Then I literally just said that the other day. So when she said that, I was like, oh yeah, okay. You know what I mean? And that's what it is, man. And I literally sat downstairs before I went to sleep, and I was like, you know what? What is survival mode? Like is that a real thing? And I was gonna look it up. So it was God again. That's him talking to me now. Right. I promise you, on everything I love, I was sitting down there when I sent that, and I was like, is there really a such thing? What is ISIS and Iran talking about? Is there really a such thing as survival mode? Mm-hmm. Like, don't everybody have a survival mode? That's what I started thinking, and I went to sleep. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, I agree with 98% of that video.
Yep. And then the crazy thing is that the way that it says you overcome those challenges is understanding, of course, empathy, and then of course communication.
So now here's the thing. That's where I started to sway from. Mm-hmm. I don't know if everybody can overcome those.
No, they said you could potentially. They're not saying it's guaranteed, but you can potentially overcome them.
Because I think that and that'd be my worry sometimes. Even with the conversation that we had the other day, that's my worry sometimes. Like I said, I'll keep trying, but that's what I was trying to hint at. I don't know if I can. Mm-hmm. I really don't, because it's like super hard, and I have so much that I try to wrestle with and come through. And even ISIS told me, well, you just take them one by one by one by one. Yeah. But it seems like all of them hit me at one time. Mm-hmm. So that's weird, man. It's weird. Now I know we about out of time, right? But you did do an 8-minute video, so
okay, go ahead. You're right.
Talk about the love aspect of it, because that's something that even the isolation thing. I go back to the survival mode. I told you every relationship I've been in. Mm-hmm. What did I do when that family, when the other, family tried to
isolate yourself? Yeah.
On holidays, I'll stay in my truck. Like my best friend, my brother, he called me over to his house to eat with his wife and his family, and I just isolate myself. Mm-hmm. Right. So, and this is the first time I've ever opened up as far as a family and appreciating and loving, letting them love on me and dote on me and love it back, because I never had it.
Right.
And it feels good. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's a different feeling, I'll tell you that. If I think I would have had that, I probably definitely wouldn't have been down the aisle that I went, or down the road that I went. Mm-hmm. Because it's just a different feeling. First time I ever had a birthday party.
Yeah.
What kid don't have birthday parties?
Right.
I don't remember not one birthday. I remember my father giving me money, telling me, hey, boy, go get what you want for Christmas, birthday. He'll give me in 1987. I think I was like 13, something like that. He gives me $500 and tell me to go buy what I want to buy. And I'm 13. What even a 13-year-old $500 for? Mm-hmm. That was my birthday for Christmas. My mother, what you want? All right, go get it. Like, so I don't know, man. Anyway, talk about the love thing if you want to.
Thank you. You be blessed too, Jimmy. But no. So like, it warns. Well, what I've looked at talks about people who are raised in love. Too, it says that being raised in love, it gives you some advantages, of course. But just because you have those advantages, sometimes they can disadvantage you. They can become your weakness. Meaning that sometimes people who are raised in love become complacent. And by complacent is talking about with regards to personal growth and making an effort to improve and grow as a person because you were raised in love. And you don't, sometimes I think people who are raised in love don't feel a need to personally have to grow. Like, okay, well, there's nothing wrong with me. I was, raised in a great home with a good environment. I don't have to do anything, but it talks about that. And so it talks about how everyone should be striving for this continuous effort to grow, for personal growth, and how personal growth requires continuously striving to grow as a person. And then it talks about is people who are raised in love. We talked about this a little bit. The lack of understanding, and it's hard for people to raise in love to appreciate everyone's journey, like especially those who were raised on Survivor.
That
And
sounds
it's
like
to
a little bit
appreciate.
more of a, like entitlement. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's just it's hard to appreciate. So it's no different than me saying like, yeah, I get that you went through all that, but I don't understand why you can't get through it. Like we know so that part of it. So it's sometimes difficult to understand that everyone's journey is unique and that people can thrive despite difficult childhoods, often because of strength and resilience they develop. Sometimes people who are raised in love have unrealistic expectations. Um, you know, people face challenges in life, they face obstacles, and being raised in love don't shield you from that. Some people may think it does, but then it's also important to understand that there are people who were not raised in love like that, and that you have to have realistic expectations when it comes to even with their growth. Like I don't think you have to sit there and say like, well, because this person was raised in Survivor, I give them all these passes. But I think you have to be understanding and give them more grace as far as their personal journey and their growth through that, their personal growth.
Well, I agree with you on that. And yeah, about you always give grace, right? Mm-hmm. But I also think that you only give that type of grace if they're trying to get through it, because if they're just staying stuck and don't want to try, don't want to listen,
right?
Like they don't have to. Again, like you and I don't have to agree with everything you made. Because I don't. Isis says she's been doing it 30 years, and there's a lot of stuff that I'm not going to agree with the studies say, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm open to listening to it and trying to see where it may or may not affect me at and mm-hmm. how I am. Mm-hmm. Same thing like with the video. The video, like I said, 95%, if I'm being honest, 98% spot on. Mm-hmm. But there's parts of that I don't agree with, mm-hmm. right? Because guess why? I didn't experience it. Right. That ain't what I experienced. Right. Right. So I don't know. Yeah, but it's I and even what you're saying. So it's that's not just one sided. It's two. I mean, right. It's very, because even what you're saying, that's saying like I don't even understand how somebody that is brought up in love could. I don't understand certain things that people are brought up in love. For instance, I'll use the kids here and how you raised them and how you and Jimmy raised them and then the foundation that they have. Like I told you, I thought that it was weird when I first came around. I'm like, yeah, this ain't what I'm used to. Mm-hmm. So it was hard for me to understand them, and it still is. It's still a growing thing. We just had that discussion. It's still a growing thing. I've never been around kids. We had 8 kids, and you mean to tell me these kids don't? I mean, these kids don't argue, fuss, and fight. Like, how you got 8? How do you have 8 brilliant kids? And yeah, they got 8 different personalities, and yeah, they may get mad, but it's no, mommy, this person did that, mommy, this person did that, no tussling, no all. Like, me and my brother fought all the time, and it's 2 of us. Right. You know what I mean? Like, his wife even told you that I told her I was going to kill him. Right. You heard my uncle call me and tell me what he'll do to me. Right. Like, so that was kind of like weird. So growing up in love is kind of, it definitely at times, this is why I say, I think I understand you more than you understand me, because I want to understand that, right? It ain't that, no, I don't know what that is, or no, da-da-da. I'd be like, yeah, okay, I see how that works. But this is what I did, and this, that, and the third. And it's like, because that's what I guess subconsciously wanted, and that's what I love. Like, I love how you and your sisters talk. I love how the whole family, I'm laughing at Randy, I'm sorry, I don't want to pop to my head. But I just love how that camaraderie amongst family is. Mm-hmm. And, it is hard for me to, matter of fact, I'll tell you this. I'll say this is something, when I say it's hard for me to understand, it was something that happened where, I don't know if it was Belinda, or, I don't know, whatever that you disagree with, and I'm looking at it like, you know what, you 100% right. Why you should just say this and say it like this and let like no, but then y'all communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not playing when I tell you it's weird, because like when you're right, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and y'all obviously wrong.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, I don't listen to you no more.
Mm-hmm.
And that's weird to me.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway.
Yeah, and it's funny though, because he said he understands me more than I understand him. And I disagree. So like I totally disagree, because like there's some things right now that he just said like, and I'm sitting here like, I don't understand how you cannot see it from this perspective, because this is only like fair is fair and right is right type thing, and he looking at it from a totally different angle that I can't even comprehend how he even got to that angle. So I'm like, what is going on? But
I hope this makes. Well, it makes me understand more. I hope that even watching that video makes. I'm gonna go back and watch all of it, but to me, it clears up a couple of things.
Yeah, it clears up that, and even in the understand, like you don't have to necessarily agree with something, right? But I think it's important to understand why things are happening and where it's coming from. Because even if I can say, well, I still don't understand why people who are raised in survivor can't just push through. I'm not gonna go against the studies and research that say that they have a difficult time doing that. So I may not understand why they can't do it. I just don't understand.
Because our push through is different.
But no, I'm saying like I may not understand that, but at least I know that a failure to push through isn't just you being lazy, or you just not want to do it, or you just trying to put everything off on me.
That's what I'm saying. My situation is a little bit different, because I am a little bit lazy too.
Yeah, you are lazy. But I'm just saying, like in the other situation, it would be easier for a person to understand, like, okay, well, I know they're not just intentionally doing this. I don't quite understand why it's even happening unintentionally, but I know it's not intentional. So then it allows, I think, a person to offer more grace with regards to that and more understanding. And I think the point that you made was good, is that grace doesn't encompass this whole allowing someone to just do stuff just because they were raised differently. Don't mean that you're supposed to just allow someone to trample over you, or allow someone to do things to you, or allow someone to keep you in a situation that's going to be mentally distressful. But it does mean that you do say, okay, this is your journey. I see that you're trying on this journey. Where can I help you on the journey? Where, what part can I help you on? What part do you need me to step back and give you space to figure it out on your own? And it helps you in that manner to be able to do those things. Because I think sometimes that's where we get mixed up too. There's a lot of videos, if you research them, Google, like with people talking like how the difficult relationships are, people who are raised in love, raised in survivorship. And I think a lot of that comes from those who are raised in love. Primarily, they don't quite understand the person that is raised in survivorship, and they really, not only that, but they think that it's more, they taking it more offense to it than they should, is what I'm saying. Like the actions personally,
and I think that's
as opposed to no, it's not personal, it's just them.
And I think that's the same on the other end of this token as well, because it could be certain things because you was raised or a person that was raised in love see things the right way, right? Mm-hmm. Or how things. So with me, what I learned with you early on, I find I don't know. I find, for instance, the battery I left at Walmart, right? Mm-hmm. What I tell you, if I'd have found that battery, guess what? Yeah, it would have been my battery. Right. You would have seen the battery and did what? Went and turned it in. Right. Now, did I steal the battery? No. Right. In my mind, I didn't steal it. Do I know taking the battery is wrong? Kind of, but not really. Mm-hmm. If I'm being honest, right? That's just because, like, hey, I didn't take it out the store. I didn't see somebody leave it. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's not mine. Right. You know what I mean? Right. It would be mine, but it would be mine. But you're gonna be like, hey, no, let's go turn that in. Mm-hmm. So I would then, coming into the relationship and prior to you, I would be looking at you like, What you doing? Why are you doing that? It's a free battery. To me, that's a blessing.
Right.
We need a battery for the RV and for the Yukon.
Right.
I don't want to pay $100, $200 for a battery. That's a black, but it's not the right thing to do.
Right.
Even to the day, I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not there, that battery coming with me. If you there, I'm, and the crazy part is but I understand it.
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, like it's the same thing for people that grew up in survival mode that may not understand people that grew up around love and care. I promise you, if I had half the people that I grew up with come be around your family, they're gonna be looking like, what the heck is this? Mm-hmm. These niggas crazy. Mm-hmm. They're weird. I was doing it. Yeah. Like, so, and that's just because I grew up. And it's the same on the opposite token. That's all. So, but I will say this too. And I'm sorry, we can leave and you can finish it off with this. Also, growing up with that, I've always been, well, I said it, I was just trying to chase women. But I also said that when you grow up in survival mode, that especially as a man, you don't know how to be in touch with your emotions. Mm-hmm. And when you're not in touch with your emotions, you disconnect with your kids, you disconnect with your family, you disconnect with your spouse, you disconnect with your just kind of with the world, right? Because that's what I'm saying. You can have that sympathy, but the empathy goes further, in my opinion, and from what I've been through. And if I would have never been able to get my emotions in check, I don't think you and I probably would have made it. Mm-hmm. Because it was a lot that I knew I had to work on. It was a lot that you needed, and a lot that you still need that I still have to work on certain things, right? But on the same token, it comes to the understanding that this is what's going on,
right? So because to his point, like one of the things that frustrate me, but it still frustrates me, but it's gotten better because we talked about it the other day. But it's like Jermaine doesn't want to make decisions, right? Because his fallback is always like, no, but I already know that mine like just kind of puts better. That your decision gonna probably be the right one, mine probably not gonna be the right one. So I'm gonna let you make the decision. And I'm saying like, no, I don't want to make decisions. I want you to handle some of that stuff. So that's one of the struggles.
That's a big struggle
that we deal with.
Like we literally just had that.
And it's like, no, Jermaine, you have to. This is what you have to do. I need you to be able, like, why are you coming to telling me this? And go tell the kids they need to do this.
And I'll give you the problem. I'll tell you exactly what she's talking about. The way that I raise my biological kids, like we have a hot, cold, off and on, but I know they love me relationship, and that is so off the meter weird to her, right? It's just like they do what they do, and it's whatever. The way she raised and Jimmy raised their kids, they're one cohesive group. So it's like I don't want to bring the trauma that I had into a situation where they were raised and obviously thriving and say something that goes against what like we just said this the other day, what their foundation is. So then I'll take the back seat, and I'm like, yeah, well, that may not be what they're used to doing, and why am I gonna say something and break up something after I already did the best I could over here and it didn't turn out like it should, in my opinion. So. And
it's funny because like one of the things he'll say is like, I don't ever want anything I do to come to you, and I have to keep explaining to him like, look, my relationship with my kids are not fragile. Like it's just not like we good. Like they get mad. All of us, if we get mad, or it's like a hot second that we stay mad at each other. Like we don't do this whole like days and days, and it's very rare that you see us go days and days and days of being mad at each other. I mean, just is right. So I try to explain to him like, no, it's not like that. Like if you say something, they're not going to get mad at me and say, well, why they're not? They one time I had, like, why did you take my side? But even in that, I was like, look, this is blah blah blah. This is what it is, and he was just like, okay, like he didn't like it wasn't like I'm be mad at you for that. Like, give me an explanation. I give him an explanation. He's like, okay, cool.
And to the point of all of that, what you're saying, it's the total opposite with me and my biological kids. Like, we don't speak every day, and yeah, they get mad at me, and heck, me getting mad at them sometimes. I'll go days on days without talking to them. And it'll be a month. And then the next thing you know, we pop up and like nothing happened. Like it'd be they mad at me, I'm mad at them. A month later, hey, what y'all doing? Oh, nothing, Dad. What you doing? Da 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 da. And that's normal to me.
Yeah,
that's normal to me. So
it's different, but those are the things. But and one of the things, in addition to communication, it talks about therapy, how important therapy is. And I just want to end with that point because I truly see the benefit. And I'm not just saying it because I do, I believe in counseling or anything like that. It's because it's something that I've tried, even though I hadn't done it before. I'm talking about when I, started about, I don't know how long ago it was now, but like before I went to a counselor, it wasn't something I just had done before I even thought about even doing. But there is benefit to that. There's benefit to having counselors in your relationship. There's benefit to having marriage counseling. And again, it doesn't have to be like there's anything going wrong in your marriage or anything like that, but there's a benefit to all that. I can honestly say that had we not been going through counseling, I think sometimes we just been like, okay, we done. We done. We
because what happens is even with us not or having two total different ideologies of how things should work or just see the world different in a different perspective or whatever, what happens is you'll get caught up in, no, you don't understand. No, you don't understand. No, it's this way. No, it's that way. And then when you don't have the third party in to try to be neutral, for me personally, the third, and actually Isis take your side more than she takes mine from just the conversations. I noticed that the other day, which is fine. But sometimes when you hear something from somebody else, because you could say something that be right, 100% right, but we're so indebted in or embezzled in whatever we're talking about and beliefs or whatever it is, we won't hear each other clearly. And then she may say something that, like, oh, okay, or whatever. And then at that moment, everything automatically changes around because now that I'm open to listening to more of what you got to say, you don't have that, then it's a brick wall.
It is, yeah.
So, but she does be on your side more.
No, she don't.
Appreciate that.
She don't.
Like that whole conversation yesterday was all on your side. Well, Jamel, I see what she's saying. Do you not? No, that ain't what I said. No, I don't see that, and I don't agree with it. And I don't have a problem telling her that neither. I asked her the other day, how long you been doing this? She said, about 30 years. I said, yeah, you ain't never seen nothing like me. I don't agree with it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I respect her because she's early on. I didn't believe in counseling either. And I still don't think it's for everybody. You have to be open to it, right? But she told me with me, because I'm always one of these people, and I said it earlier, that you're not going to look at a book and then tell me that how I'm feeling or what I should be doing or this is why I'm acting like that. And I get the studies and all that, but you have to be able to grow up in a certain survival mode. Isis is one of them people that she said told me some things early on. I'm like, oh yeah, you kind of a little bit crazy. Like I was kind of crazy. So, she's highly intelligent. So she hits me where I need to be at. So I know she'll understand me versus just being a brainiac in school and learning from a book. So I can believe in what she's saying. She hits Zorano because they're both highly intelligent, and then she connects with Zorano on that level. So it works for me. I don't think if it would have been anybody else, it would work.
Yeah, but everybody has to find their own counselor. That's why they tell you to kind of shop around, not shop around, but you have a right to go and see which counselors actually fit you as a person.
I actually want to do an experiment. I just want to go get another counselor and make it a male counselor and see if because I want to see if it's a difference between how, because men and women are so different, and I understand they both went to school for the same. I know it's ain't got nothing to do with nothing, but just to see if he started talking. So I'm trying to counsel the counselor or try to outsmart the counselor to see if he started talking more of how men think versus how if ISIS talking more how women think, so I can get a. Anyway,
that's a whole nother story. Anyway, the counseling is beneficial because even now, sometimes Jermaine will say like, "Oh, well, now that you put it that not just because he's I think through counseling is helped both of us kind of just take a step back and try to get what the other is saying. And it does sometimes you'll say like, well, you would not have done that in the past, like way back. But sometimes you'll step and say, well, when you put it that way, I am beginning to see what you're saying now. And that's helpful. That just it is. So anyway, that was our topic for today. Like always, if you have something that you would like us to talk about, send us a text message or inbox, and we will talk about it on our next show. And look for us next week on.
I think we should do it Wednesday.
Possibly on Wednesday.
We'll update the group. We're gonna tell Micah to come up with something.
Yeah.
And hopefully it's not sports related. He don't always talk about sports, but he comes up with very interesting topics.
He does.
And I like talking to Micah because for whatever reason, Micah seems to be more on my side.
I don't know what that's about.
That's you would think he was my biological son as much as he agree with me.
Right.
Because I mean, so even with the sorry y'all, but the what is it, astrology, whatever it is, that sign thing or whatever.
Oh yeah, Aquarius.
They talked about all this crap about these signs, this, that, and the third, and Micah started agreeing with me so much. I'm like, dang, it might be something to this.
Oh man, so yeah. But thank you, Martez. So feel free again to give us some topics, and we're gonna go. Yeah, because I don't have homework today because I'm done. I have one more session for class, and then I'll be done. So no homework today, but Jermaine cooked dinner ahead of time, so we'll go feed the kids.
That actually made me feel good too. I think I heard that. I thought I was dreaming.
It's like it smelled good.
No, Danny said that. I heard him say it. I think that's when I heard the door, but I thought I was dreaming because he came downstairs and he said, "Hey, what is that? It smells delicious in here." Like he ain't never said nothing like that. Now, right. So that's why I thought I was dreaming.
Man. See you all later. Have a blessed evening.
See y'all next week, Taz.
See you later. Bye-bye.